spiritual realms and also about the paths between them. Are each of these infinite in itself, a kind of universe, though of a different reality? And how can these be related to the dimensions?
Some are finite. It depends on how the realm or the path is defined. Some realms are defined as touching all places at once and are essentially infinite, even though they might be, when you're inside them, they might seem small. Spatial dimensions, when you're dealing with how realms and paths interact with anything else, spatial dimensions and size references mean absolutely nothing. These things are law unto themselves in terms of that. They define themselves however they want, and they act accordingly, or however they've been designed to, in the case of a realm that has been created. And they all have their own internal laws and rules, and by laws and rules, I don't mean that somebody's going to come arrest you if you try to break them. I mean that you might find that gravity is not a constant, or things like that, as in the natural laws or rules of the realm have been altered or customized. And when you're in them, well, you can't violate any of those without either permission from whoever created the realm or special equipment to do so.
If we dream of people we know, does it mean they miss us? And will we dream in 4D after the ascension?
You'll still dream in 4D. You'll definitely still dream in 4D. You'll pack a lot more into the 2 hours that you'll need to sleep. Yep, that's one nice thing about higher dimensions. You don't have to sleep as much, and you still enjoy it. It still feels like you got a good night's sleep, too. Sleep's a lot easier up there and a lot more fun. Yes, you still dreams. As for people that you meet in your dreams, or when you dream about people you know, I don't know if that means that they miss you. Sometimes it's just they're filling in for a concept in your own mind. Like, for instance, if I dream about my stepmom, it isn't necessarily literally about my stepmom. She may just be filling in for some concept that my subconscious needs to work through. Sometimes you'll have shared dreams with other people. If you've ever had the exact same dream as someone else, then you'll know what I mean. In those cases, I don't know, the people that you're sharing with are clearly in the same context, but all the other actors within might just be creations of the dreamscape.
And, there are positive, much like any of the other beings out there are positive angels, there are negative angels, and there are neutrals. And so, no, not all angels are positive, glowing light beings with wings,
In fact, we'd like to warn you about some. For instance, does anyone know what the root of the arc in archangel is? It actually comes from archon angel. Consider that one for a moment.
This is the definition of archon.
Ruler or controller.
You mentioned a group of beings you called the beings of the shadow. Can you explain this, please?
These are just beings that they exist in the shadows. To our perceptions, they appear to be made of shadows. They may be elementally shadow aspected.
The people from Alcyon in the Pleiades, are they friendly? And can you tell us a bit about them, please?
Okay, the Alcyons are kind of known as the Keystone Cops of the galaxy. They have a tendency to mess things up. Some of them have been part of the problems that are going on that led to the control system and led to the invasion of the reptilians on this planet. Others have been well-intentioned, but still kind of contributed to the mess inadvertently. We don't really like to talk much about the Alcyons. It's a messed up situation with them right now, and we're still finding out a lot about what's gone on. So I think to discuss the full situation right now would be premature since we don't have it.
The Earth, while all of this stuff is going on, the Earth is also moving through our galaxy. Now, I've heard a lot of different things, or people send me stuff. One of these things is something about an ascension. sometime here in September. Okay, September 28th, I hear. I personally don't give that any credence because we're not ready. We're not ready yet. What's happening, though, here, September, October, is that our solar system begins its descent into the galactic plane, which is an enormous electric plasma field. This will begin to trigger and turn on our DNA, our dormant DNA. Now, there are children being born in with 3 strands. Now, to my knowledge, there's only one that's actually been admitted, and that was in England, of a young boy who's come in with 3 strands. There are others, but they weren't born in hospitals. They were born with midwives at home. That's what their parents were guided to do. And these children are enlightened. They will be moving very quickly once we get enveloped into this field. I understand that they will be going to a 5th strand lightning quick. Many of us, especially us adults, will be moving to a 3rd strand, some to a 4th, depending upon the condition of our physicality, how many toxins we have in it, our history of taking pharmaceutical medicines, things like that. Not everybody is going to make it through this cloud, I've been told. It's going to be extremely difficult for men to actually process this new energy. Now, this energy, from what I've been told, is going to be a movement that is going to appear very fast. It's almost going to be like you're hyperventilating or on speed, or if you've had way too much coffee. It's going to be an excelled adrenaline rush. Those are the things that it's supposed to feel like. The reason I stress connect to spirit, to soul, is because that's where we have to go with this energy, because that's what the energy is. Okay? This energy is what it is. It can't be tampered with. The only thing that could disconnect you from this energy, this field, this force, is here, okay, is fear. And this is why you're seeing things being kicked up quite a few notches now, because the powers that be, they still have quite a bit of control here, folks. Those who actually rule the planet, okay? They're not running for cover yet. They still think they've got everything locked down, that they, even if they get rid of levels of management, they're pretty confident that they can find others who will be drawn into the lure of greed, and they will, they can have more minions to do what they need to do. It's interesting. It's really extraordinary, to be honest with you, the things that are coming. To be able to detach from the drama, whether it's the presidential race, ISIS, all these different things, is going to take some practice, because they want our attention. Okay, remember, what keeps fueling this holograph is our focus on it. The Andromedans in the past talked about creating a domain of knowing. The Magna Carta started that with the lords and knights and others wanting some kind of rights against the king. Where the king just couldn't do anything he wanted whenever he wanted. Out of that came a series of experiences which led to the United States Bill of Rights, truly the first of its kind. That created a domain of knowing, and that went around the world. It's used in television shows, etc. And there's all kinds of young people who get arrested in Europe and other places will say, I have rights. And it's because they've seen this in the movies and television, and they don't realize that in actuality in their countries they don't have rights. Well, some countries have implemented rights, but the point is that there's an awareness now that they want rights, and they have rights as a human being, not to be treated like cattle and chattel and a natural resource. What we can do individually and as groups is we need to focus on creating another domain of knowing, and that is the expression of benevolent joy, okay, or benevolent expression of joy. Joy being one of the highest forms of love that there is, an expression and one that all of us share together. Now, there is no one leader for this. There can't be one leader for this. This is something everyone individually needs to grasp and to embrace with their own intent, their own focused intent to do this. And in doing this, not only do you become a leader, but you become an expression of that which you're creating, this benevolent expression of joy. And it is very, very contagious. And it is the opposite polarity of what the powers that be are trying to create on Earth, which is fear and just everything that's associated with fear.
If the bushes are also clones, then who is pulling the strings in the Western world?
Likely one of the Illuminati or Cabal people that you never hear about.
Yeah, generally speaking, the ones that are really pulling the strings, you don't hear about in public. So, from what I understand, the ones that you do hear about in public and everybody talks about in public are kind of
second rank usually.
Yeah, or even more down in like the 5th through 10th level. So, in general, the entire planet is going to within a certain period of time gradually shift to a global Mediterranean climate as the poles are going to, the tilt of the planet is going to be correcting. And so when that occurs, and with all the all the things that are going to be going on with the transition coming up, that will have the planet shifting towards a global Mediterranean climate. There will still be some of the highest mountains will still have snow on them, but generally it's going to be like, the weather is going to be very similar to what you see in Greece, Italy, Spain, that general vicinity on a planetary-wide basis.
My two half-sisters have breast implants. What's going to happen to their implants in transition? Are they going to melt down like some plastics? Aren't they made of plastic?
They're probably just going to poof. Anything artificial will poof. In the case of something like your artificial hip, or in my case, my artificial tooth, that will poof and be replaced with the natural, the way it was meant to be. In the case of those of us who have had surgeries to remove certain organs, or who are missing organs or limbs or other body parts, those will poof back in. Those who have been born with disabilities will have those disabilities poof as well, whether they are mental or physical or otherwise, and you will be 100% whole human being